2009, this young woman named Gabriela Rico Jimenez appeared on the Mexican news making a frantic conspiracy theory style rant in which she dropped the names of several powerful Mexican politicians and the awful things she witnessed them doing, including eating human flesh. In the middle of her outburst, she was taken away by police officers. Although this appeared to be some random schizo, word quickly spread that this was actually a famous Mexican model. After this event, she was never seen again, and every trace of her has been removed from the internet, leading people to think there may actually be a sinister truth behind what she was saying. This rabbit hole goes deep, with people trying to find out what happened to her and what is being hidden from us. I've done a little bit of digging, and I found some fairly conclusive evidence to debunk these conspiracy claims, and I even think I found Gabriela herself. But before I reveal what I found, let's start from the beginning. On August 4th, 2009, this clip was shown on a Mexican news station showing Gabriela Rico Jimenez in front of the Fiesta Inn in Monterrey. She was wearing a ripped shirt that said "Yum Yum," spouting a nonsensical rant. She speaks about being imprisoned by young and powerful people and some sort of conspiracy that began in the middle of 2001. She talks about how people were killed, including someone named Mourinho. She goes on to say that a man named Carlos Slim was responsible for this. She continues to shout at the hotel staff, saying they know what she is talking about, and that she wants them to be given the maximum prison sentence. She goes on about being taken to a police station and mocked for what she was telling them. Near the end of her rant, these claims get even crazier, saying these people would eat human flesh. At this point, the police arrived and they took her away. She was never seen again. Shortly after all this occurred, several bloggers decided to take a deeper look into this to figure out what exactly she was talking about. A few early bloggers pointed out that Gabriela was actually a well-known supermodel, making runway appearances in Mexico City, Paris, and New York. Apparently, she even made an appearance on the Mexican version of Cosmopolitan magazine. Her high-profile status would make this rant and subsequent disappearance all the more eerie. Oddly enough, if you look up Gabriela Rico Jimenez, you will find no evidence of her ever being a model. It's as if, aside from this news appearance, she was a ghost. Because of people's insistence that she was indeed a famous model, it has been speculated that people behind this conspiracy wiped every trace of her from the internet in an attempt to silence her and reduce her credibility. In Gabriela's tirade, she mentions that Carlos Slim was behind all this. Carlos Slim is a Mexican businessman, and at the time of this event, he was the richest man in the world. So, as far as some Illuminati-level conspiracy goes, people felt he was financially capable. It didn't help that there were further rumors about Gabriela being close to one of Carlos Slim's sons, which may have given her the opportunity to witness some shady business he was involved in. But this is all just unconfirmed hearsay at this point. Gabriela also speaks of a man named Mourinho being killed. For more context behind this, Gabriela is talking about a Mexican politician named Juan Camilo Mourinho Terrazo. He was affiliated with the National Action Party and was a secretary to President Felipe Calderón. One of Mourinho's responsibility was leading a government campaign against Mexican drug cartels. Just 1 year prior to this news broadcast, he died when a private jet he was flying in crashed into traffic in Mexico City. The crash killed everyone on board the plane along with 7 people on the ground. At the time, the public was skeptical about the cause of the crash. 2 black boxes police found from the crash were sent to the United States to determine the cause, which was found to be a result from turbulence because of the pilot's failure to slow down in time. If we want to take Gabriela's rant seriously, then maybe this crash was not an accident at all. As internet investigators continued to dig into this, looking for answers about what happened here and where Gabriela was, another interesting development was made. In 2015, a Spanish blog called The Black Manic posted an article giving the testimony of a law student who claimed to have spoken to Gabriela after she was taken away by the police in 2009. He said he was at the same police station she was taken to, and when he saw her, he approached and asked her some questions. He says that she told him a bunch of unnerving things, including speaking about an underground base in Monterrey where they live and regularly steal children to eat. After 20 minutes of talking to her, some well-dressed people arrived and ordered him out of the room and then asked him what Gabriela said. He just said that she spoke of crazy things and then left. The next day, he went to the high officials of the ministry and asked for more information about Gabriela. They laughed at him and said, "Really? She doesn't exist. She never existed, and you don't work here." I'm very skeptical of this testimony, not only because it surfaced 6 years after Gabriela's disappearance, but the entire thing reads like some corny movie script and doesn't make a whole lot of sense. At the end of the day, this is just something a stranger on the internet said with no evidence, and I don't see any good reason to take this seriously. Before I give you the smoking gun on all of this, I want to establish a few things. The only thing that makes this case as eerie as it is the fact that Gabriela was allegedly a famous model before this happened. A random nobody going on a rant and then fading into obscurity isn't all that weird, but a public figure doing this and then being completely wiped from existence is just unsettling. The fact that no evidence can be found anywhere of this woman being a model makes me think that she never actually was one. Sure, I guess it's possible that some powerful entity erased every trace of her from the internet, but that just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. It would be near impossible to get rid of literally everything on this. At least one person out there should have an article or a picture or something that can back this up, but that just doesn't exist. And even if an evil organization could pull off such an impossible feat, I don't see why they would. Wouldn't it make more sense to just leave the whole thing alone and let everyone think that she's crazy? Maybe fabricate some medical documents showing her having psychosis or something? Scrubbing all the details of a high-profile figure immediately after this happens just makes everything way more suspicious than it would have been if they just left it alone. And every person online saying she was a model is only saying that because that's what everyone else is saying. They don't have any evidence or memory of her modeling. They just repeat this claim because, oh well, all these strangers on the internet are saying it, so it must be true. The biggest reason to doubt her ever being a model is that not even the original news broadcast mentions this. They just refer to her as some random young woman. And think about it, news channels love to embellish stories, so if she was some famous Mexican model, they definitely would have mentioned that detail on the news. The only reason they even know her name is because at the beginning of the broadcast, they mentioned that she was arrested for causing a similar scene prior to this event.
Para todo nuestro auditorio, efectivamente, a pocas horas de haber sido detenida esta mujer, Gabriela Rico Jiménez, de 21 años de edad, fue puesta en libertad de manera inexplicable y sin embargo, las primeras horas de este lunes volvió a protagonizar un escándalo en plena vía pública, Luis, y es que
this whole rant happened after she was released that first time. At the end of the broadcast, they talk about how they hope the family of this woman can be located to help her.
si se puede localizar a los familiares de esta joven para que se le brinde la ayuda necesaria, ya que, bueno, de acuerdo a las declaraciones que mencionaba, en donde acusaba al personal de este hotel.
This doesn't at all sound like they're talking about a famous person. I think one of these random blogs talking about this broadcast either made a mistake or blatantly lied about her being a model just to sensationalize things, and people just latched onto that rumor and didn't bother to fact check it. The other big detail that makes this case so mysterious is that Gabriela was never seen again after this. Except, this isn't true either. She never made any big appearances after this, but the rumors that she was killed or locked in an evil lair are completely false. There's a Mexican news article from 2017, 8 years after this all went down, that reported a 29-year-old woman named Gabriela Rico Jimenez was found wandering the streets at dawn, claiming she did not remember where her house was. They tried to locate her relatives, but she was eventually sent to the Department of Social Work. The name matches, and the age seems to match as well, since this would mean that she was 21 years old at the time of the news broadcast. And the lost mental state also matches. The only thing that is really up for question is the picture of her. Yes, she doesn't immediately look the same as she did in the news broadcast, but This was nearly a decade after the fact, so it's not out of the question that she just let herself go a bit, especially if she's mentally ill. A lot of the features still seem like a reasonable match to me, particularly the eyes and nose, but I thought maybe I'm just being biased, so to be as objective as possible, I got a second opinion. I used a facial comparison software to compare the two faces to see if they were the same person. This software touts a 98.8% accuracy, and when I compared the faces, it said the probability of them being the same person was very high. So I think it's safe to say this is Gabriella, and at least as of 2017, she is still alive. But you know the sad part about all of this? This probably still isn't good enough for some people. It's really hard to reason with conspiracy theorists. I'm sure they'll look at this and say, oh, well, you see, that article was actually faked by the government, and they just used an AI image of her to throw us off. And you know what? Fine. I think Gabriella was never a model, just some random mentally unwell woman having an episode. But if you want to believe that the government took a high-profile model, erased every trace of her from the internet except for this news broadcast for some reason, and then made sure that none of her relatives, associates, or friends ever spoke a single word of it, and that genuinely seems like the most reasonable explanation to you, then more power to you. Thank you for watching, and I will see you on the flip side.